All right, and again, welcome. If you haven't already, if you would be so kind as to mute yourself, just so we kind of eliminate some of that background noise. And then if you need to hop on and join in the conversation, obviously unmute yourself and do so. You're also welcome to remain on camera, or if you need to kill the camera because of an internet connection or something like that, that's absolutely fine as well. So while Vic shares some good news to start off the meeting with, I will pull up the agenda and then we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining us today.
Okay, the good news is the contracts are done and I've signed, my supervisor signed, they're now in the system. So I expect next week you should be getting an email to sign it and return it to us so that we can get back your finalized contract and your updated claim spreadsheet. One of the things that took a little longer was all the carryover. So I've got a spreadsheet where I'm keeping track of all that, and I shared that with our finance folks, and that helped them a lot. It's almost $1 million in carryover. So. Okay, here's the agenda, and I'll let Crystal take it over and do an attendance call.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. So we thought we would like to start off today's meeting with doing, as part of the attendance roll call, a summer check-in. So if you did summer programming, how did it go? If you didn't do it, how are you still staying connected to the youth and families of your program? If you're in the middle of it, tell us about that. But if it's okay with you, what I'm going to do is just call you out on my screen, kind of how I see you. And again, please unmute yourself. Let us know. Tell us your name, your site, and then if you would be so kind as to answer the question. And Steph, I'm going to actually have you go first.
Awesome. Perfect. I'm Steph Silken. I'm from Cedar Rapids with Kids on Course University. We have done summer programming, which is amazing, but it's very different. So what we did was we had 10 or 9 feeding sites that the district started in March, and we quickly realized that Kids on Course is usually the open feeding sites during the summertime in our community. And with the restrictions in place with the Linn County Department of Health and stuff, we weren't going to be able to have that in-site tutoring and our normal summer programming. So we took over the 9 meal sites. It has been awesome. We have served this is our 9th week. We finish next week. We have served about 245,000 meals to that. And our other biggest accomplishment was we partnered with a bunch of nonprofits in Cedar Rapids, like the United Way, Cedar Rapids Public Library, the city of Cedar Rapids. Actually, I wrote a grant. And we handed out 10,000 books on 9 nights. But the really cool part was the FEMA grant that I wrote. We got a $50,000 grant that we contracted with locally owned restaurants, and we paid them to make family style meals. And so you got to drive through and pick up the books, and the kids got to pick the books. So there was like a whole online like Scholastic order. They got to pick their 5 books. And we did that through a local bookstore as well. So with that as well, we put about $120,000 of profit into our community that has really been suffering. So that is what we've done. And then every week we also supply an enrichment. So whether it's like this week, it's Play-Doh with all these different games for every grade level. So that's what we've been doing this summer. And it's been really a benefit to our community. And it's been a really awesome way that we could really pivot with our programming, but make a huge impact. So that's what we did in Cedar Rapids.
All right, thank you, Steph.
Wonderful.
I should also mention that if anybody mentions something today that you'd like to learn more about, please feel free to drop that into the chat, and I'll make sure that that person makes that connection. Then you're always welcome to reach out to each other individually as well. But just know that if you drop it into the chat, we'll help you make those connections.
Hey,
I have Laura next on my screen.
Crystal, before I forget,
yeah.
are we'll have an August meeting, and our focus is going to be how we improve feeding kids. And I was at a meeting this week. I got direct information from U.S. Department of Agriculture, and I've got to do some follow-up directly with them about what we can do, funding that's available for us to provide additional food for these kids. So we'll touch on that in August, but I'm glad Stephanie brought it up because it's really important.
Yeah, great. Thank you. All right, Loris, you're next.
Can you hear me? Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Loris. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just give a quick summer summary. We did have a program on site for 3 weeks this summer, at 4 of our elementaries and the middle school. The attendance was much lower this year than it has been in years past. Many parents are still worried and apprehensive about sending kids to back to school here yet, but what we focused on with the kids this year is academics. We still had a number of teachers who provided tutoring for the kids over the summer. We also, through our local extension office, they obtained a mini grant to provide or buy some STEM kits for us. So that was a focus that we also did this summer. They did a lot of recreational activities, and some of the sites also went swimming here. But otherwise, we were limited as far as taking any field trips this year by the district because of COVID and stuff. So we really the only field trip, like I said, we took was for swimming here in town. The city had expectations and guidelines and stuff to outline for the kids to go swimming. So it all worked out okay. We did have one scare with an incoming first grader this year who presented with some COVID symptoms and had to be held out for a little while, but the test turned negative. So we did have a little scare, but we got a taste of how we might have to handle that, in the upcoming year here. So, but overall, we're happy with how, what we were able to do for the kids this summer. It was short, but we think it was very good for the kids that were able to attend.
Okay, thank you, Loris. I have Amy Mintier next.
Hi, we did not run programs. Our schools didn't have their after school and summer programs this summer, and we were not allowed to go to any of the students' houses and have any contact. So we were limited in that way. We did provide summer lunch for all of our programs, and so students could come and pick up lunches every day. And then we did some online activities with just checking in some games, reading, that type of stuff with our families, but it was very limited. And as of now, Iowa City's not sure if we're going to have school yet or not. So that's up in the air too.
Sure. Yeah, I actually live fairly close to Iowa City, and I know I've been following that, Amy. So good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
I have Barb next in Oelwein.
Hi, we ran 4 weeks of summer school, but it was all virtual. We had a little over 103 students who regularly participated. We had great success with our high school because we really focused on credit recovery. We learned a great deal being online teachers and setting up virtual programming. And the biggest success was our music teacher taught ukulele online, and we now have 40 semi-accomplished ukulele players. That's the highlight of our summer.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Barb. Allison, I have you next.
unmute here. Allison Wilson from Marshalltown, and we don't have summer programming through 21st Century, but we're also a full service community school grant. So we did run with our school district virtual summer activities and enrichment kits that we delivered to families for 6 weeks. So just wrapping that up. And we also did ISU Extension STEM kits. So that was good. And that's how we're just staying in touch with families. Staff are checking in, trying to follow up what we're going to do this fall.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Allison.
Oh, I have a
Christine,
comment
I have you next.
on that real quick.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The U.S. Department of Ed has a kind of an exploratory grant called Full Service Schools. And what it does is provides for mental health and other services to provide for the whole child in an after-school program or in a school without an after-school program. And typically the department will do it this way to work out some of the logistics and things. And then if they decide they want to keep the grant, then they'll send it over for the states for management. So in the future, this could end up being an addition to the 21st Century program. But right now, it's using discretionary funds. So I think it's a great program, and I'm glad that a district in Iowa was able to receive it.
Very cool. Thank you. Okay, Christine, I have you next. Christine, we can't hear you. Okay, looks like Christine's having a little bit of trouble, but that's okay. We'll skip her for now. We'll go on to, it looks like I have Billy and John next.
Hello, everyone. Quick update. So we are actually finishing up week 7 of our 8 weeks of summer camp. We pretty much cut our numbers in half. So we've had anywhere from about 85 to maybe 90, 95 students. We were not able to program in the school, Edmonds, like we normally do. So we moved all of our programming to the Oak Ridge campus. So that's grades 1 through 8th. We were able to have teachers come in. And so we've kind of had a robust summer with academics, 2 hours of academics in the morning. And then the remainder of the day are enrichment activities. And those activities have included going to the zoo. We're working on some things with the Science Center right now. We've done numerous field trips we went to Ledges. We've gone to Neil Smith. We've gone to Jester Park. And so we kind of divided them up by age groups to go to these different activities to make sure that we're following CDC guidelines. Yesterday, we had a field day to kind of try and wrap up our summer. We went to Union Park. And so we had a number of our summer youth employment workers who came up with a program. So they created an agenda. They created like 6 or 7 different activities. We had brown bag lunches that we took. We had 6 stations. Each stations had hand sanitizer. Kids were required to wear a face mask. And so we had lots of space to rip and run. We also were able to do our summer youth employment program. And normally we have anywhere from 45 to 50 youth in that. But because we didn't have a lot of community partners that were in the office working, we had to scale that down. So for the summer, we have about 33 youth that are actually working for us. The majority of them are working in our camp, managing the day-to-day program. We have a couple of young men that are working with a gentleman in the community. He's doing hydroponic gardening, sustainable greenhouse. And so they're doing that. Last week, we were able to do, every year we have what we call STEM on the Ridge. And we do a lot of activities with different partners. Well, again, we have to scale back on that. So we kind of went virtual with our activities. And that was pretty nice. It was hot as all get out, but at least we got through it. So you know, for us, summer has created some challenges, but I think it's also let us know what we're made of, you know, number one, as an organization, and number two, as a program. And our mindset is that this is probably the new normal, so we might as well learn how to adapt to it, you know, and move forward. I just got off a phone call with United Way and a lot of different group individuals there talking about return to learn and trying to get ideas, share ideas about going back into the school year. So our plan right now is that we are going to move forward with our after-school program. We have received permission from DMPS and Atlanta to do our 3, 4, 5 classrooms in the building, making sure that we follow the guidelines that are set down by both CDC and Des Moines Public Schools. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Next, I have Megan.
So we didn't run a program this summer, but we were able to do our lunch and literacy program that we usually do throughout the summer a little differently. So we kept in contact with our families by delivering books. And then we actually got a donation of food from Quaker that we also delivered with the books to our families. So we got to see them. I think we've delivered about 700 books so far. We still got about 2 more weeks, so yeah.
Very nice. Thank you, Megan. Nikki.
Hi, I'm Nick Coughlin with Council Bluffs School District, and I am new to the directors meeting because this is my first year as a director. I've been with the district for 5 years as a coordinator, so familiar with 21st Century for sure. This summer, we didn't really have necessarily after-school programming, but we did help fund our virtual summer school with our district. And we also, our 21st Century staff also volunteered throughout the summer at numerous locations to hand out meals to families. That was something that our district, you know, put at a very high importance, obviously, for those families that needed it. So that was actually really fun. Jesse Stofel, our former director, and I, we actually had a really good, it was just really fun to be able to help out our families, and we did it at a couple different locations throughout the summer.
Nikki, do you want to update us on what happened with Jesse?
So I'm kind of mad at her because we're very good friends and I love working with her, but she has always wanted to teach, and she's been in the process of getting her master's in teaching at a local college here, and she is going to be student teaching this fall. But she is a very, it's actually a really great deal for her. She's actually going to be student teaching, but she will be teaching while teaching. So she'll be getting paid as well. It must be something in Nebraska that she's able to do, but she's also going to be at the school where her son will be starting school. So it just happened to work out very well for her. So I'm very excited for her, but I'm going to miss her tremendously. But we live very close, so I'm sure I will be getting her assistance very much this year.
Thank you.
Well, she'll be missed, but we're excited to have you on board, Nikki. So I have Jenna next.
Good morning, Jenna with Beyond the Bell in Sioux City. We did not run a summer program this year. We kind of held out as long as we could. We thought, okay, we're not going to do anything in June, but we're going to start in July. Then that date kind of crept up on us, and our community, our school district, we just weren't ready for that with kind of the level that we were at for outbreaks at that time. And so we didn't do anything in person, but we were able to distribute some, we call them like enrichment bags, kind of the same types of things that other people have done, where it's a book and an activity and things like that. We were able to score some like free passes to different things that maybe weren't open but were starting to open and things like that. And so that's kind of how we've partnered with people this year, instead of kind of our typical thing. And so that kept us quite busy, and now we're using the time to get ready for when school's back.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I have Caitlin next.
Hello, everyone. So Caitlin with St. Mark Youth Enrichment. We did start a summer program in Dubuque. We would normally have Dubuque and Dyersville. And I should also note this was our first summer having it not be an actual 21st century site. But I will share how it went for us anyways. So in Dubuque, we had lower enrollment, and that allowed us to, make really small classrooms, have them spread out. And we did that for about a week and a half. And then the 4th of July weekend hit, and we saw quite a huge increase in cases in our community. And then we had one positive case amongst a staff member. So we worked with our local Department of Health and made the decision to switch virtual at that point in time. So this is our last week, still going until Friday, of the virtual model that we've been doing. And it's been going well. It was, of course, really awesome to see the kids in person, the connections that they were able to make. And it was a good energy for that time that we had together. The virtual program has still been going well, having activities and supplies for them to pick up, and then have the virtual kind of component work with their teacher and doing activities that way. Some other highlights, we did have access to food for the families to pick up every day, a lunch, and then the following morning's breakfast. We had great partnership with the AmeriCorps, as we normally do every summer. They were able to do more one-on-one tutoring for a handful of students that were in need of that. And then we have also kind of continued a connection with different enrichment providers in lieu of, actually doing field trips. I think we had kids making salsa with a provider where we would normally have like a community garden experience. So they got to still kind of participate in some of those types of things as well virtually. And Dawn's on the call too, so once it's her turn, she can add anything that I perhaps missed. But.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, because I was just thinking to myself, I think we're probably getting into the point where we're having some duplicate representation from some sites or groups. So if you have things to add, absolutely. If you also just want to introduce yourself because your coworker spoke on your behalf, that's great too. I just got a message from Christine. She thinks she's figured out her audio, so we'll go back to Christine then for an update from Storm Lake.
Hi, can you hear me now?
We sure can, Christine.
Okay. Hi, this is Christine Carlson from Storm Lake Community School District. I'm the site director of a middle school, grades 5th through 8th, and we did not have a summer program. And I worked real hard to keep in contact with them, phone calls, mailings, even stopped by a couple houses, and it ended up being really depressing for me because a lot of the phones were disconnected or the families moved. I would say only probably about 10% of the kids I was able to get a hold of. So this summer's been really sad for me, and I'm excited about school starting and getting the program running, but I'm nervous about the numbers and who's really going to be there.
Yeah, good point. I think that might be a worry across the board in a lot of places this year. So I have Virginia next. Oh, Virginia, we're not hearing you. Virginia, it sounds like we're still having a little trouble here with that, so I'm going to skip you while you work your magic there on your end. We'll go on to Lynn.
Hi, this is Lynn, also from Storm Lake, like Christine. I'm the director of the elementary before and after school program. We also did not have programming in the summer, and we don't normally have programming for our 21st century in the summer. I know our district worked really hard with meals for families and delivery and making sure that they got those. There were books delivered. Kids got to pick out what books they wanted. And so I know within our district, there was a lot going on to stay in contact with kids.
Thank you, Lynn. I have Dawn next.
Hi, it's Dawn with St. Mark Youth Enrichment. Caitlin covered everything. The only thing I would add is we certainly are going to take everything we learned from summer and try to apply it to school year as best we can to learn from it. There's an 11 a.m. press conference today. I'm really hoping that the governor gives us some guidance on not just how to stay open, but actual real guidance that, like, if this happens, you can close down a classroom and you don't have to close down your whole site, or, you know, just some of that information. And then I think something that's been really helpful to me as a director is having I have an amazing team, but just having the team around me, and we all try to remind each other, focus on those parents who are grateful, focus on those team members who are grateful, and show appreciation. It's really easy to narrow in on the one parent who's you're never going to make happy, or the team member, but just really, this has not been easy for any of us or our families. And so just remembering to really focus on those family members, or those families, those students, those team members who do appreciate and understand what we're doing, and give grace to the ones who are ornery because they're just anxious and fearful like the rest of us.
Right. Absolutely. And as Cassie just said in the chat box, that's great advice. So Sam, I have you next.
Okay, thanks. I would just echo what Dawn said. Yeah, we're anxious to hear from the governor today, and hopefully we can get some direction. So, and good advice, Dawn, thanks. We did not run a summer program this year. We were able to do our summer foods program. For a big chunk of the summer, we fed over 200 kids meals for both breakfast and lunch. And then here at the end, it's been a little less, like 160 meals. So being from a small district, that's a lot for us to serve. And our food service staff did a great job doing that. So that was a part of what we did this summer. We had summer learning opportunities for about 10 days this summer, and our director, Carly Williamson, who's tuning in with us today, she will be probably taking some of these director meetings moving forward. But I'd just like to make sure that we give Carly a shout out and welcome. She's been awesome, and she helped with our summer learning opportunities and helping kids in reading and math. We just stuck to core subjects during our summer learning. So that's kind of what we've done this summer. We're hoping we can open here this school year. We just have to figure out a format, because here at our elementary building, we're trying to keep cohorts together. And if we have an after school program, the thought is we would keep those cohorts together, and we wouldn't have personnel to do every single section. So we're just trying to figure out how to mitigate that and manage that the best we can. So we're open to good ideas if people have great ideas about how to keep cohorts together with a limited staff. We're a small district, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Carly, I actually have you next on the screen if you want to unmute and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Carly Williamson from Audubon. I'm just excited to get going and hopefully try to have an after school program. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Jane, I have you next.
Hi, Jane had to run to take care of some kids at her program, but I'll go ahead and speak for her. This is Heidi Brown from Des Moines.
Great, thanks, Heidi.
Hi, we actually did not offer a 21st century summer program this summer. We don't usually, and our buildings had been closed since March. We did offer a 5-week summer camp program through our childcare program called Metro Kids. So we're in our penultimate week for that. Next week will be our last week, and it's run very, very well. Quite small, and of course following all those DHS guidelines and learning a lot, obviously, for next year, like somebody else mentioned as well. Our district has served thousands of meals this summer, and our 21st Century full-time staff have been part of that effort, as well as our technology connection for families, which was a huge push this spring and through the summer, making sure that our families are connected to technology for whatever virtual options will be offered for the school year. We've done some academic enrichment kits to families at the elementary level. And right now, focusing on 21st Century, we're just working with our community partners to have them work on virtual programming options that they can offer us this school year, because we've been made quite clear that community partners will not be allowed in our buildings at the beginning of the school year. So we're just trying to come up with some creative ways to keep kids engaged and keep our partners engaged as well.
Great, thank you, Heidi. Cassie, I have you next.
Hello, can you see me? Oh, there you go. I had to turn the video on too. Well, so for summer, if we don't have a 21st Century summer program, but our school district did do summer programming. Our high school had 516 credit earning opportunities virtually for our high school students. And so that was wonderful, and we had a wonderful response related to that. If you see the New York Times Daily Briefing newsletter, we were highlighted. We were like the first sentence in our second week of elementary summer school because we were taking temperatures, and that in week 2 of elementary summer school in person, 8 children had fevers. And so then we closed from from in person to virtual. So that significantly changed, and also was a big driver in why we're not taking temperatures to get into the school buildings with students. So elementary summer school was okay, but different, and we didn't have a lot of participants within that. I think we had 51 elementary students who participated in the elementary summer school. Middle school summer school was only like 38, and that was 5th through 8th grade that participated. That was virtual, except for Thursdays they brought them together, and that was for about 4 weeks. And we offered, like everybody, the sack lunches and food every day, Monday through Friday. And so we're able to still stay connected with our students. And that's all I'll say for summer until you get into what are you doing, return to learn.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Cassie. We're going to circle back to Virginia. She just sent me a message. She thinks she's got it figured out now. Okay, Virginia, if you're talking, we cannot hear you. So Virginia, feel free to use the chat box to give your update. That might not be the next best option for you. So, all right, I'm going to move on to Chris.
Hi, this is Chris Hoover, superintendent here in Maquoketa. We did not have a summer program. We did continue to do our meal service program for our kids. Probably served close to 1,500 meals every week, all summer long. As far as starting up in the fall, the issue we're having right now is the lack of staff and not really having any staff that want to partake in the after school program right now. So we'll try to figure that out, but try to keep things rolling. We're more concerned right now to see exactly what school itself is going to be like and what our new normal is going to be.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of looking at that new normal. So I have Amy Whittington next, please.
Yes, so at Central Decatur and our sites, we continued to offer meals through June and into July some, and then took a break with food service. So then we're planning to start that again here in August, and then just working with our school district. We'll follow the same kind of school district guidelines in the after school program, and so just working on the logistics of that.
Thank you. I have Margaret next.
Good morning. I'm working with John and Billy over at Oak Ridge on their evaluation, so I'm just kind of listening in today to hear what you all have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now I'm going to apologize because as people were hopping in and out, you're kind of got mixed up on my screen. So I think that might be everybody, unless I haven't called on you, and then please unmute and share at this moment.
Hi, Crystal. This is Bobby Jo Sheridan. I'm just calling in via phone. I'm with Des Moines Public Schools, so just want to everything Heidi said, continue to share that. And then the other really cool thing that we have been doing to support our families and what our 21st Century staff have been assisting with is a family support call center that is available for our families to call in to get assistance with anything they may need, whether it's academic support, technology, housing support, meal support. So that's been really awesome for our staff to make those connections, and then also for families to have an easy place where they can call to get any type of support that they may need.
Okay, thank you, Bobby Jo. Did I miss anybody else in the introduction?
This is Beth Christopher at Alan McKee, and I work with Virginia. And I know she's at a different site, so I'm not sure exactly what her problem is with getting things done. But we did have summer school this summer. We did 4 weeks in June, and we're going to do 2 more weeks in August. We did have the summer feeding program with it. We weren't allowed to go on any field trips because of busing and things like that. And usually that's our big summer ticket is the field trips, but we weren't allowed to do that. The kids did come in and temperatures were taken. They wore masks. We used 3 separate rooms with 3 separate teachers to be able to move around with different activities and then switch, and then different activities and switch. She knows the activities better than I do of what we actually did because she was there, and I don't have a list in front of me right now of that because I was thinking she was going to talk about it. So we did have summer school, and that's mainly what I needed to let you know.
Yeah, thank you, Beth, and I'm sorry for missing you there. Virginia did type a message. She said that topics included Renaissance, they made castles, dragon sewed pheasant costumes, a coat of armor, catapult, and again, she did mention that the 2 more weeks will be happening in August starting on Monday. They use social distancing masks and hand sanitizer. So that was wonderful. So. And I see that we have quite a few questions that are popping up in the chat box, but I think for the sake of time, we're going to move on with the agenda, and then we'll hopefully be able to have some time to answer some questions later. If not, we can always send out an email with some of those responses as well. So if you're joining us late, Vic made an announcement about contracts already, that they have been completed. And Vic, do you just want to quickly again say what you said about contracts at the beginning of the meeting, please?
Sure. Yeah, I've got a little extra to add to that. Contracts were completed this week, and I signed them, and my supervisor signed them, and now they're in the system. So next week, you should be getting an email from finance, and it should also have your contract and your claim spreadsheet. Now, we granted a lot of carryover, almost $1 million. But there were some folks that, couldn't tell me an estimate for whatever reason. Sometimes it's just, they have to wait on their school board to approve expenses. So you can still do a carryover. You just have to work with me, and we will do an amendment, and you'll be able to get your carryover. Now, it's not as hard as it used to be because with the virus, I've created a pandemic template. So really what I need from you is by cohort, the dollar amount that you would like to carry over. And by now you should know all the expenses have been turned in, all the claims. And so if you need to do that, that's fine. Now, a couple of you had emailed me that you said, oh, well, we kind of requested a little more carryover and we spent a little bit more and we need to change our carryover amount. Well, we're going to have to do that by amendment. So if that's you and you overspent and we need to reduce it down, email me again. Let's do this next week. And I'll get an amendment made out for that as well. And the reason I didn't want to do it as soon as you emailed me is because that would have probably delayed our contracts until September. So we got to take things step at a time. You know, they have things that procedures, and we like to let it run its course so that we can keep moving forward. So that's been a huge relief, at least for me. So I always worry about getting you guys your money and getting it in a timely manner. And I guess we can move down to the second one, financial claims.
Yes, go ahead.
Yep, it's been pretty good. Now, keep this in mind. If you have an issue that you can't make a deadline, you need to contact me and request an extension, because I can probably get an extension for you. And we did get somebody an extension this time. Then the second is a nice surprise. Well, it may not be nice if it affects you. This last year, we moved all the districts onto the CASA system. Coming up, when you do your claim in October, all the community groups are supposed to be in CASA as well. So we'll all be in one system. Now, we'll try to do a training for you on the CASA system. I think it's a little bit easier than the Iowa grants. It's just, you know, kind of a learning curve. There's one more new thing we've got to do, and I apologize for that. Listening to all of you, I discovered that everybody's doing something a little bit different. And that's okay, because you have to meet the needs of kids at the local level. And so what I'm trying to do at my end is be as flexible as possible to support you, you know, and even things like site visits, those are going to be virtual, and they're going to be a lot more flexible. And we're not in normal circumstances right now. Maybe come January, we can get back to normal in 2021. I don't know. So we'll, you know, we're going to take things step at a time, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to support you and get you through this so that we can continue serving kids. And I'm very happy that the job you guys have been doing, it really makes me happy to be a part of this. So the next claim will be Q1, and that's claims from July 1 through September 30th, and we don't typically see those coming in until October. So that'll be our next claim period. Anybody have any questions on the finance?
All right. Okay, so hearing no questions, we'll go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. But before doing that, I would also just reiterate that please remember that the members of the Iowa After School Alliance are also here to support you as best we can. And I should have pointed out the people on the call today who are with the Iowa After School Alliance are Brittany Samuelson, Emily Harris, and then Brad Knott is also the managing partner, and he's on the call today as well. So again, feel free to reach out to any of us and we'll be happy to help you along the way as well. So moving on to Return to Learn, Vic, why don't you, if you want to go ahead and take this one, or if you would like us to.
You guys can go ahead and do this one.
Okay.
I'm responding to a question in the chat.
Yeah. One thing that we wanted to address today was, it sounds like just in your introductions regarding summer that almost everybody on the call today is hoping to start the school year off as normally as possible, knowing that you might have some constrictions, or you might have a plan A, B, C, D, and E to handle anything that might be thrown your way in terms of a curveball this fall. We really wanted to ask the group what support or assistance you needed from either Vic or members of the Alliance. And then we wanted to point out some resources to you. So at this moment, what I'd like to do is I'd like to just pause and have you jump in. If there's any specific need for support or assistance, please bring that to the conversation now, and then we'll talk about some resources we have out there to support you as you move into the fall.
This is Dawn with St. Mark. So I think our biggest questions, and I just saw another question in the chat that's related to this, is ours is really going to be very site specific because we're being respectful of those we're partnering with, right? So within districts and then within buildings. And so I think we're really trying to figure out, because the models don't look the same across our districts. What time of day will we be able to offer programming? Are we still required to do 60 hours of programming? Can we do a virtual option, or do we have to do an in-face option? So I think we're really just looking for guidance on what applies to what we know are the main three different options that schools are offering, which is fully face-to-face, a hybrid, and hybrid has a lot of different components, but for us it's half the kids going on one day and then the other half going the next, and vice versa. And then the third option is when it's all virtual. And I think when it's all virtual, that's an easier one to figure out. But, there was someone else who said community partners won't be allowed in school buildings. So even in some of our schools where school is happening face-to-face, we still can't run program the way we've always run program, and maybe not at all. And so we're looking at doing a virtual option at one of our districts on the off days. But we need guidance to know if we can do that, and do we have to do it between normal after school hours? Because what the school really wants is us to be a touch point for those families during the day. So just trying to figure all that out. Not much.
Right, thank you. Thank you. And we actually had a similar question regarding the hour requirement in the chat box from Loris. And Vic did a response that I'm just going to read out loud here. So the formula for contact hours still works. So if you have a snow day or if school is closed for a break, those do not count. So if school is open half-time, the formula says that you would provide half the hours. You just need to continue to try to serve those at-risk kids. And Dawn, I think that's a great point. That again, we're going to be seeing programming in a lot of different formats, whether it be in-person, virtual, or a hybrid. And, again, I wish I could just walk over to my bookshelf and pull off the manual for how to do that, but nobody has that, right? So I guess what I would say is, as you are progressing through that process, and you come across something that maybe you need a little bit more support, or you need to troubleshoot something with, I would like to suggest that we could potentially help with those types of situations. Does anybody else have a support or assistance need that you want to address at this point?
Well, mine kind of relates to that, but I wanted to share what our plan is, and then the parts that I need, that I have follow-up questions on. So you just let me know if this is a good time to do that. Yeah, okay. So so I'm a school district program, for those that don't know, and we are, I guess I am tasked with, we're gonna do, so we're starting hybrid with AB. Kids are either gonna go Monday, Tuesday, or they're gonna go, or no, I'm sorry, Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And then we're not gonna have school on Fridays at all. So we had an extra building that wasn't being used. So we're gonna open up James Madison, and I'm gonna have a principal in James Madison. And we're gonna offer Monday through Thursday during the school day, but probably extended from that 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. A program. And so each of our buildings are giving us some school day staff to send over there. So interventionalists, a couple art teachers, music teachers, and then the principal is going to create a schedule with me about what that would look like. But then we're using our after school software, the Easy Report, in order to do enrollment. And because it's different, right? It's not mandatory. So it is more after school, like what we do out of school time programming. And so, so parents can sign, we are gonna have after school as well in each building. Our school day is gonna be 50 minutes longer. So that means it's cutting into, after school time as well. But K-8, we're gonna offer after school every day for those that are in the building. The maintenance department is gonna clean a classroom before we go in, because we are gonna, unfortunately, it's just the nature of what we do. We are gonna, mixing cohorts, but at least they're gonna be in that same building. But then on those hybrid days in this other building during the school day, and then extending it into after school as well, have this free program that students can bring, or parents can bring their kids to, and we're working out if we can even do a route in transportation, or if we can do a route like from 10 to 2, just for those really at-risk kids who have no way to get to it, but need it, that we all know they need it. So one is just, are we able to use any 21st century funding to help on these, this program that we're running on these hybrid days, and knowing that we're gonna add this new site for all of them. The USDA has gotten back to us because I want meals and snacks because we're gonna also run an all-day Friday since the school doesn't have Friday. So I'm gonna have Pieces programming running in my buildings. K6, 7, 8 said, don't worry about me for staffing purposes. So K6 Fridays all day. And so my Pieces program is actually gonna look much bigger than what what it is, because we're trying to provide all of this care and services and online time and enrichment during these non-school days for our kiddos and their families. An interesting thing that came up that I don't know how many of you know is that when you're offering hybrid, and you're requiring your teachers or associates or whoever to work, but their kids don't have school that day, that parent legally does not have to go to work. They legally can stay home and still get paid for the times that there isn't school. So by us as a district and with Pieces, have this free program on those hybrid days and on those all-day Fridays where staff still has PD responsibilities, I now can ensure that staff can work and that we have a place for their kids to go under our Pieces after school umbrella. And so it's gonna start the first day of school, August 24th, because we need staff to be able to work too. And so I guess lots of questions. The USDA has not approved whether or not we can do the meals and or snacks on these other days. So we're waiting to hear about how we can even feed them. So I had that too. For staffing, that's obviously a challenge. Our 21st Century Community Learning Center grants are funding our after school program. I can't take on the expense. And so our district is going to take on that expense, being able to send certified staff and associates over there, then the district pays for that. And then, yes, we have to limit our number of students because of social distancing and the 6 feet, the mask requirement, or required because legally we can't require it. So lots of different moving parts that we're trying to do, but I contacted the SCC, who has a education program with the community college. It's like before they go to a 4-year institute for teaching. So I'm working with them to provide us staffing from that group. It'll be term specific. And then our Iowa Wesleyan 4-year college, their juvenile justice, criminal justice, and their education departments, we're going to do service learning by term so that we can bring those students in to help us with staffing. And we have such a wide option now, from 7 in the morning till 6 at night. I need staff, so we can pull a lot of different people as well. So that's a lot. So, the food, the staffing, the how can I pay, what can I use from the grants to pay for different things are all questions that I have.
Vic, do you want to pause to answer any of those questions or provide some input on any of those? Because we're also getting a few questions in the chat box too.
Yeah, I've been trying to answer questions in the chat box. Anyway, what I would advise people to do is, because everybody's having different scenarios and different schedules, is get a hard copy of the schedule. Because it might be so many days a week, it might be rotation, whatever it is, make sure you have a copy, because later on, if there's ever any kind of an audit, you want to be able to say, the reason why we didn't provide, the full amount of hours required was because the district hours were reduced because of the pandemic. So, cover yourselves. That's always a good thing. And now we can, if you would, pause the recording.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Hold on. That didn't work. Okay, all right. And thank you again. Sorry, let me get the share resumed here. All right, so thank you again for your questions. I know we want to touch a little bit on resources, and then it's now 11:15, and I know several people have jumped off because they want to watch the governor's conference today. So I'm going to turn it over to Brittany for a moment. She'd like to address some of the resources from the Iowa After School Alliance.
Yeah, thanks, Crystal. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to provide a few updates about the resources we're sharing through the Iowa After School Alliance. If you haven't noticed yet, we've been sending out bi-weekly updates for COVID-19 to our list of after-school programs across the state throughout the summer, and we'll continue doing so until you guys don't feel like you need the support anymore. But in those updates every other week, we provide any new guidance from the Department of Education, any new guidance from Department of Human Services, resources from the Center for Disease Control, and then lots of different activities that youth can do from home with their families or online. I also wanted to share with you that we've recently added a few new resources to this newsletter around how to empower you to work with your school partners to be involved in some of their decision making. We know that our school leaders are very overwhelmed with all of the decisions they have to be making right now. And so we cannot fault them if after school is not the first thing on their priority list, but it is up to all of you to make sure that it isn't totally forgotten about and that you have a seat at the table, or you have someone who is thinking about after school who has a seat at the table. So I'm gonna put something in the chat box from the National After School Alliance. They provide 5 steps that you can work with your school leaders to help them collaborate with you to think about going back to school. This is also really important because school districts do have money from the federal government for COVID relief, and they will likely get more money for this too. So especially if you're having staffing concerns, for your pods or for splitting kids up and need more staff for that, there is potential that if you work with your school partners, they might be able to divert some of those resources to you to help provide for that childcare and for that safe after school programming. So just all of this to say that it is so important for you to have these conversations if you're not having them already. I think Cassie is a great example of doing that with how she's been able to get the school district to provide different teachers to help her with her program. And so I'm sure many of you are having those conversations, but if you're not, I'm going to post these resources for you, and we're always here to help you facilitate those conversations and outreach too.
That's great. And that
Thank
brings
you.
up a point. When you talk about money, you know, the districts are getting CARES Act funding. And I'm going to share a little something with you. And it'll take just a second. I have to find it. I got a lot of stuff here on here. Here it is. So I got this yesterday from Betsy DeVos. Not that we're okay. So this is just a notice about an additional award that they used 1% of the $30 billion in CARES funding to provide some additional funding for states. And this is going to allow them to do micro grants, statewide virtual learning, and new models for education. And so Iowa is one of a few states, and the states were Georgia, Iowa, Louisiana, Maine, North Carolina, New York, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Texas got additional money. And let's go down here. And I'll show you the chart. You can see how much money we got. Iowa got $17,681,000. So that's a pretty good bonus that on top of the CARES Act funding, Iowa is going to be able to do more to support return to learn and some of the different new ways that we can serve the needs of kids. So that's exciting. And I'm going to stop the share right now, and we'll go back to this mode.
All right. Okay, so I want to point out a couple more things in regards to some resources, and then also addressing potentially some of these allowable expenditures and allowable activities. So thank you so much for all of the questions that have been put into the chat. What we will be doing is compiling that list of questions, and then we'll be able to share out kind of a frequently asked questions or FAQ document with you so that you'll be able to see. Now, again, some of those questions might be pending more guidance or something of that nature, but just please know that we're going to try to get that all put together. If you have more questions, please continue to add them into the chat, or you can also email those to Brittany, Emily, or myself, and we'll be happy to put them all into one place. As soon as Vic gets a chance to respond or answer those, then we'll get those in a place where everybody can see those responses. So a couple more things just in regards to some resources for you to remember or consider. Please consider that U4Youth has lots of great professional development support that you can access. Please also know that there's still the standing invitation for sites to partake of the Iowa Ag Literacy Partnership opportunity, which is to say that they would be willing to come to your site this fall to offer some learning experiences. And then we also wanted to remind people that the statewide evaluation, which was shared out with you, I think maybe 3 weeks ago in an email, is also posted on the department website and the 21cclc.com website. We want to bring this to your attention because this can be a really nice document to use for talking points as you look to form new partnerships, or if you are looking to receive additional support or need some talking points to promote your program as we approach this school year with this in-person virtual hybrid model. Vic, what else would you add regarding this topic?
Well, let's just say for the Iowa Ag Literacy, if you want to have them come out and help you, send me an email. Because, so far I haven't heard from anybody. And so, if you don't need them or you don't want them, that's fine. But I need to get some emails so I know, that there's interest out there. And then that statewide evaluation, if you look at the executive summary, it has kind of a list of all the reasons why we're doing after school and a lot of good data to share in your communities that we're making a difference for kids. And there's, I also want to share with you some data that I got from Deborah Vandell, who's a national evaluator. She's done a longitudinal study with over 10 years of data on the program. Yeah, and I'll get to that later. I just
okay.
Context of evaluation. Yeah, that's a good document to have. It's pretty long. It's about 100 pages, but there's a section there for every single 21st century grantee. And there's data, consistent data per program, and it highlights some of the good points. When you send in your evaluation, what we do is we aggregate some of the best pieces and we try to look at consistently what are some of those things that as a state we need to be doing. So we're focusing on reading, of course, and we focus on attendance. And this year is going to be a little bit of a challenge because we don't have the assessment, but we're going to let you do any of the APR outcomes, which means you can do assessment if you have something, you can do grades, or you can do, teacher survey. We'll accept any of that. And then also you're going to focus on anecdotal. Maybe you'll have your evaluator do interviews and visit your program and get a sense of what's going on. It'll be different this year, but we don't want to slack off because it's critical. They're going to be in Congress deciding whether or not to keep our funding going. So we want to keep that data flowing.
Okay. So again, as you think about questions, please feel free to send those our way. All right, Vic, you just referenced APR data entry. We do have the windows here, so you'll notice that we have window 1 and window 2 with the dates that those are open for entry. And the timeframes on which to enter them. So does anybody have any questions about the APR data entry windows? All right, if you do, please feel free to drop those in the chat or join in later.
Now, speaking of APR, there's some webinars. Tim's doing the webinar today, and I'm doing the one on September 2nd. They're making a transition to reducing those GEPRA measures. And I put in my 2 cents again and again, advocating that what we need to try to capture is growth. Not just are they proficient or not proficient, but, you know, the growth that our kids are making. They might be 3 grades behind, but yet because of the after school program, they caught up an entire school year, you know, in a few months. That's very significant, and we're not capturing that right now. Then the other thing I put in my 2 cents in about is when they want to do student behavior, we need to get those principal referrals data put into the APR system, because that's really high quality. And every principal in the country has that data available. So we'll see what the final outcome is. I'll be updating you as I attend, you know, training sessions with the U.S. Department of Ed, and they start rolling it out. But it'll probably happen 2021, 2022. So.
Vic, this is Caitlin. Can you just repeat what you said about principal data? What you mean by that?
Every principal keeps the data on the number of referrals for students in a student information system. So when I visit and I talk with a principal, I'll ask them about this data.
Got it. Thank you. I just missed part of it.
Well, we need to get that into the APR system because that's very powerful. And what I've noticed over the years, 99% of the principals tell me that because of this program, the number of referrals dramatically decline. It's generally safe for me to say that about 50% of the referrals go down at least 50% the first year the program's in place, and they continue to go down as students are in the program. That's just a general synopsis. It may not be, you know, 100% accurate for your school, but that's a really significant data trend. And capturing that in a system helps us to convey the tremendous importance of our program in changing lives of these at-risk kids.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. Moving on. So we have some reminders from the Iowa After School Alliance. So first and foremost, just wanted to share that you all should have received, or people on your staff should have received, an email invitation calendar invite from either Brittany or myself for the committee dates for the first 6 months of the year. We decided to do it that way because, again, we are living in a very uncertain time. If you have new additions to committees, if you have people who are interested in changing committees, or if you have new staffing patterns, please reach out to either Brittany or myself and let us know. A general reminder that our best practice webinars are held on the 4th Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. These are recorded and they're posted to the website. So if you're not able to readily participate, you can always access those later. We have also shared the FY21 calendar dates and professional development dates. Again, a reminder that those are kind of living documents, so those dates are always subject to change, but that was sent out in an email to you, and they are posted on the 21cclc.com website. So please feel free to reference those, or if you need an additional copy or another copy, you can always email me and I'm happy to get those for you. And then finally, Brittany has been doing a COVID bulletin, and then Emily is in charge of the monthly newsletter for the Alliance. If you are not receiving those, we would strongly suggest that you do, because in addition to information regarding, you know, general after school or before school programming, there's also grant opportunities, professional development trainings, and things of that nature. So if you need to be added to that list, please feel free to reach out to any of the three of us and we'll get you into that program. Vic, statewide data collection plan. I don't know exactly what you had in mind for this today, but I'm wondering if you would maybe want to table this until the August meeting?
Sure.
Okay, let's go ahead and table that. And now enrichment coach opportunity. So.
Okay. When the Alliance informed me that the enrichment coaches that used to be funded by United Way, and they pretty much worked in central Iowa, although what they were doing was really good methodology. And so we did a pilot last year, and we sent Teresa out to a few of our sites that needed the most help with reading. And I got wonderful feedback. So I was thinking this, that these folks who are really good literacy coaches, perhaps we could send them out around the state to help programs for a period of time. But I don't know if you guys would be interested in doing that or not. Now, what we could probably do is, you know, they could work as a program staff person for part of the time, but they also have to be providing literacy coaching to staff as well during their visits. So we've got some logistical things to work out, but I wanted to kind of take a pulse and see if you guys would be interested in doing something like that. They would be, at least the Iowa Alliance would be paying for a portion of the salary, but now if you did them, if you wanted them as program staff, you'd have to pay that portion. And you know, I don't know if you needed PD and you needed to spend some of that PD money, you could bring one of these literacy coaches in, but we really need your feedback on this before we move forward. So I know it's a lot with all the stuff you've got going, but this could be a nice support for you.
This is, excuse me, this is Caitlin from St. Mark, and I know that we had Teresa help out with our programming. So I think it's just hard to know right now what, I know for Dubuque, we're anticipating probably having virtual be the main method. So what that looks like in these times will just depend. So I would be happy to bring it to our team and then just get more collective feedback and share out to you. I don't know if I have.
Well, you know, maybe we should schedule a separate call just to talk about this in more detail. You give you guys some time to think about it and go back to your folks locally and discuss it and see how viable it would be. And then, you know, maybe we'll schedule a phone conversation to follow up on it. Because if this could be a good way for us to help support you.
Vic, I like that idea. I was going to comment that, like, I'm very intrigued by it. But like you said, without really knowing what's happening yet, it's hard to kind of give a solid answer. But I think it's like, for us, it's one of those things that we've heard about other districts doing when it was funded through United Way. And we've always been like really curious about it. So I would welcome a specific call to just kind of hear more how it all works.
Okay, great.
And I do think that there are some logistical thoughts or concerns that need to go into this, obviously, but but I think at this point, you know, if you, if this is intriguing to you as an idea, maybe send me an email and just let me know if you are interested in learning more, and then we can use that to kind of gauge people's response to this potential offer, knowing that we have some things that we still need to work through, of course. So.
Well, what about the people that aren't on the call right now? Well, maybe we should send out an email specific to this and say, respond, you know, and then we'll have a follow-up conversation on it.
Right. And again, it is being recorded, so we'll have that as well. So. Okay. Okay, Vic, before we move on to the longitudinal data, there was a question in the chat regarding the local evaluation document. And in that, we were just wondering if we know what the 2019-2020 local evaluation form will entail.
Yeah, let me take a look at that, and we will then, let's put that on our agenda for next week, Crystal, to go over that evaluation document on our weekly meetings, and then we can get that out to folks right away.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so the longitudinal data. Go ahead, Vic.
Okay, just a second.
Are you going to share a screen?
Yep.
All right, then I will stop. There you go.
Okay. So this was presented by Deborah Vandell on one of our SCA meetings. And what's nice is that we've got pretty consistent data. Now, she went all the way back to 2005. Now, obviously, I couldn't do anything about that, but Iowa, in each of these things, Iowa is the very last. There was actually a bigger chart, but I just stopped at Iowa, so you could kind of see. And some of the states, you know, look at California, they put some data in, and then after a while, they just said, psh, you know, and they're getting what, $160 million, and they can't collect the data. But anyway, our data is consistent. If you look at free and reduced lunch numbers, the national average is 66%, and Iowa we're pretty close at 65%. And consider that we've got a lot of rural sites, and you know they qualify at 40% free and reduced lunch. And with rurals, they often have a hard time getting people to sign up, and I think they're underreported with compared to urban sites. So, you know, that brings our average down a few points, but that's okay because we're still pretty close to the national. If you look at, you know, California, they're pretty high at 87%, but they've got, you know, a lot more kids than we do. The next data set they did was participants who attend regularly. You know, and that's why attendance is so important. They're tracking this at the national level. And I've been advocating for years at the department, we need to be having that data available and we need to be tracking it. And there's 3 years that they said not available, and that's because Deborah Vandell didn't collect the data herself. She had some grad students doing it, and we've got the data. I don't know what went on, but it is there, and it's still there right now. So, you know, they need to go back and put that in for us. And I did send a little note that, yeah, we have the data. But anyway, we're above the average for participation. The national average is 52%, and we're doing 58%.
Is attended regularly the, I think like 60% or something along those lines?
Well, that's that attendance that you do.
Oh, 30 plus days.
Put into the APR.
Yeah, okay, got it.
The next item is ELL students. And the national average is 13%. In Iowa, we're serving 14%. And another point to consider, if you look at the one pager that the Alliance puts out every year, you'll see that we serve a higher percentage of kids that are ELL, kids with disabilities, and kids that are free and reduced than the state does as a whole, which is what we're supposed to be doing. This is a federal title program. And this is, good data that shows that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing with the money. If you look at participation with kids with disabilities, we're at 12% and the national average is 10. And again, I think that our state numbers in the one pager show a little that we're higher than the state average as well. So this is good concrete data, and I will send this out to Crystal to share with you guys after the meeting. So here, if you look at the, this is taken from the one pager here, that the state average for free and reduced is 43%. We're serving 60% right now. The ELL is 7%. We're serving 11% right now. Those are our latest numbers. Kids with the disabilities is 4% statewide average, and we're serving 16%. So, and then I put the national data down there at the bottom. So when they look at, what states are making good use of the funds, this is concrete data that we can say, yeah, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in Iowa. And that's all thanks to you guys, because you do a wonderful job serving kids, and that makes me very happy. Anyone have any questions about this data? Now, here's another thing I want to share with you. I was at another session for states, and they had one of our neighbors were sharing their evaluation, and in there they talked about the numbers of kids they were serving. They're serving a whopping 12,000 kids, and it's just south of us, the state of Missouri. When I started looking at that, I scratched my head. I says, that's all they're serving is 12,000? They're a bigger state than us. And then I looked it up, and yeah, they are a bigger state. They get 3 times the amount of money. They're serving 12,000. We're serving over 14,000. So we are doing a good job for kids here in Iowa. We've got the data. So hopefully that'll help when you guys have local meetings and with your partners, that, when they support after school programs, they are really, in Iowa, really the money is going to serve kids. We don't have a lot of fluff. So any questions? All righty, I'll stop the share.
Yeah, feel free to send that my way, Vic, and I'll make it available to everybody on the call today, and those who are not on the call. So, all right, the last item on our agenda is in regards to the email that was forwarded early this week regarding the quality improvement opportunity. So, Vic, what else would you like to call to the attention of people today for that? Well, again, if you want to participate in that,
you'll need to, send me an email and we'll try to guide you through that process. It's something brand new that the U.S. Department of Ed is offering, and I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work. What I sent out was exactly what I have. I didn't, it wasn't that I have a whole lot more information. So as I find out more, I'm willing to share that. But certainly, if it sounds something you want to do, let us know, and we'll do our best to get you enrolled in that.
All right, absolutely. So again, if that's interesting to you, please feel free to reach out to Vic or any member of the Alliance. And again, we'll make those connections. So with that being said, thank you, everybody. This was a bit longer meeting than we anticipated, I think, but thanks for hanging in there with us. We will be posting this recording to the website, so it will be available, and then we'll also be compiling that FAQ document and the data sets that Vic shared and anything else of that nature, and we'll get those out to you. So if you have last minute questions you want to type into the chat, please do so. If you have a verbal question you want to ask at this point, please do that as well. And if it hits 2 o'clock this afternoon and you think of something that pops into your head, please shoot me an email and we'll get that included in that document then. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for your time and wish you all a good rest of your Thursday.
Oh, and reminder, don't forget, we're going to have another directors meeting next month.
Yes.
And we'll
So
have
as soon as
one in
we get
September.
Yeah,
But,
as soon as we get the information, we'll get that link set out to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming at you, and I think these meetings are important so that we can keep moving forward and, be available for your questions and things.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.